don't know if I want to depend or what do I want to do. Actually, no, sorry if anyone is live. We're gonna start very soon. I think in Europe it's very early, so I don't think anyone is there. Okay, we're live. Can the speaker stop talking? No, welcome. I'm really excited to introduce you the Youth Day at COP10 at the Food for Climate Pavilion. So yeah, today we have a full day shaped by all our youth-led organizations that are partnering with us this year. So it's Wipeout, Yongo, EIS, the MENA Youth Network, and the Private Youth Board. If I didn't forget anyone, if I did, I'm sorry. But anyway, we are really happy to have them with us, and it's going to be a really exciting day, followed by a nice reception for youth food leaders, and I hope I see you there to network and talk about food system and how we need more youth inclusion and yeah, all these things that you know about by now. So yeah, I'm really excited, and I will leave it to the speakers now for the events on negotiation and other topic related to food youth inclusion. Thank you.
I'll remain here so I can look at you in the eyes. So I would like to introduce Baliman Alexis, who is the young Swiss negotiator, and then Helena from IAS, the International Association of Students in Agriculture, and both are members of YONGO, which is the Youth and Children constituency to the NFCCC. So both have been following negotiations and would like to know what were your impressions from negotiator side and from civil society side. How do you feel about the whole negotiations of this year, Alexis? What were the challenges and what were the outcomes you were happy or sad about?
Yeah, thank you for having us, for having me. About maybe the negotiation first, the outcome is definitely a bit disappointing, but I know that it takes time to reach a consensus. Maybe this year was not the good time to reach it. We saw some progress in terms of talking about the texts and trying to find common grounds. There was a willingness, but maybe there was not enough place for debating in terms of content. There was more like procedural discussions instead of substantive discussions. So that was a bit stuck. That was from the perspective of the text, maybe. In terms of what I experienced as a young negotiator, it was quite interesting to see the difference between how informal consultation and inf are actually happening. It's a bit a different setting, a different attitude between negotiators, and you can see the willingness to work forward, but also sometimes the problem that country cannot, or delegates maybe cannot go beyond the mandate of their country. In the end, those are technical people, you know, they are not the one deciding back in the country. So that's what I try to learn now, because right after the decision, I was super devastated. I was hoping a lot, expecting a lot from this COP about this, because, you know, food system is such a big theme now. It's a momentum. We pushed with Yongo already last year at COP27. We had an agreement on Coronivia, so it was promising. What I learned, like now, 2 days or maybe 3 days after this final end of negotiation, is that you shouldn't only expect outcomes from COP, but also more on the national and regional level. So I guess with time, I will able to process it better. But yeah, mixed feeling about agriculture right now.
Before moving to Helena, can you bring us closer to what's an informal, just the technical words you use?
Yeah, sure. So informal consultation is basically one of the first, let's say, layer that you have in terms of negotiation, which is open to observers and medias, and it's like the most procedural one, the most formal one. So countries are talking to each other in a meeting room that is quite big, usually in U shape, and it's a lot about procedural discussions. And when you come to INF, it's actually not open to observers, neither to media. So only parties are there. And to my understanding, they feel a bit more relaxed and a more like, let's say, open to debates, because they're only among parties and colleagues, basically. And it's also more frontal, you know, like it's more about we're going to debate about this. Let's go into the text. So it's just different type of layers in terms of negotiation. And then you can go even a step down. And this would be like contact group of bilateral. So let's say a country has a different position with another one, and they see that they're actually, by having two different positions, blocking the negotiation to move forward. So they will have a discussion, just the two of them, which is why we call it bilateral. And in the end, you can even have like sometime small discussion in a corner of a negotiation room, and we call it huddle, because it will be like just maybe a group coordinating in one corner during the inf, which actually happened in agriculture. And it's very interesting to see, because they're just talking in a very informal way, like, let's go, we have to do this, you know? So yeah, that's a bit the background.
Thank you, Alexis. Moving to you, Helena, what were your impressions as a civil society representative?
As a civil society, we see what are the problems on the ground, and there is a big gap between what is actually needed and happening, and then what is being discussed at the negotiation level. When I saw the first time the text they were going to discuss, I was like a bit like, but this is not entirely what we were expecting as a civil society. So you learn what is like the difference between the negotiations and what a party can do on an international level, and how they bring it to the national level, and what civil societies need to do for this themselves. But yeah, it was definitely confronting to see that often like the feeling that they didn't have the urge to work forwards. But when you speak in bilaterals with them, you see that they really want to have a common sense. They want to have something to work forward. They just see the way of that completely different, and that often blocks. I also have to say that the first 2 days we felt as youth that they were not actually discussing or talking. They were just like saying some nice words, thanking the co-facilitators, and it felt very unprepared, like a little bit just formal meetings and stuff, and not going into the text and getting to the matters that were confronting to each other. So that was yeah, definitely when we now see that it's going to be postponed for Bonn, the only thing that we as youth want is in Bonn, so when the SB happens, to not waste the first 2 days again before the actual steps forward are being taken, because we know that now we did some step forwards. If we keep getting those little agreements, so the little things we can get an agreement. But yeah, therefore we need to also work, and we also as youth want to work already now to start preparing what can be the outcome of Bonn.
And Helena, do you think what you raised at this COP was taken into account? Do you feel included in this decision making?
I definitely felt that it made a difference. We heard Yongo, like everyone was talking, yeah, Yongo's intervention, Yongo this. I do think that sometimes it maybe was not completely what we intended to, that people said like, Yongo wants the entire text, which for us was actually not the case. We just wanted that in Bonn we would be already having a real step forward in the way of implementing. For us, that would have been a workshop based on implementing, so that we had what all countries wanted is to really start implementing this. But some countries wanted with a coordination group that can help the implementing parts. Others don't want that. And specifically, we wanted to combine them in already having one workshop, and then in Bonn discuss the rest of the coordination group how to implement this. But then, yeah, it's hard because now no one got what they want, really. So if you cannot make everyone happy, you can make everyone unhappy, I guess. So that's what the feeling is now. I didn't met any negotiator that said like, yes, this COP was good for our track on negotiations, and that's the same with the youth. So it's a bit sad to have that mindset, but
yeah. Thank you, Helena. What about you, Alexis? Does your voice make an impact within your delegation? And what motivated you, and what are the things you did briefly to be a delegate so other people can learn from your experience?
So I think on the question to have an impact, whether or not it's quite difficult as the first year to be heard. I think they do consider my voice. However, I'm not able to take the floor and say something from Switzerland or on behalf of EIG, which is the negotiation group of Switzerland. Not on agriculture per se. On other topic where Switzerland doesn't have any priorities, I am able to do so. So I think it's a matter of time. The thing is that the program is meant to be only 2 years, and you are only allowed to go to COP during your first year. So for me, this is a big problem because I'm not saying this because I'm the climate juice delegate, but from a youth perspective, what do you think is going to happen if next year someone will be a new climate juice delegate and will have never had the experience of being supported by someone who already went to negotiation? It's going to be the same. It will be again starting from scratch. So it would be like if youth delegate would be kind of doomed to be always a secondary negotiator. And by doing this, we will be never able to make them more empowered, right? So I think this is something I'm going to raise. I have to write a report to the Federal Office of the Environment of my country to say what can we improve, basically in terms of program. And this is one of the key things I want to improve, like to have a kind of a junior mentoring system where 2 delegates can go every year a COP, so that the one who already went can support the other one in terms of negotiating. Because obviously the Swiss delegation is so small, they don't have the resource to support me every day to tell me, okay, you should do this, that. Here you can intervene. Here you shouldn't. So yeah, that's a bit difficult. In terms of the outcomes, I was also disappointed, as I said. What I learned though is that I think Jungo has a powerful voice, and we hear it also 2 days before in the Youth Climate Forum that we had together as well, from negotiator themselves, right? That they were impressed by the level of quality that we were giving in terms of a recommendation intervention. So we are on the right path. The question is like, how can we translate this motivation in implementation? And I think we have to move to a more professional way of doing bilaterals, maybe to spend more time on reading texts. But I do think that also the role of Yongo is to be kind of idealistic and very ambitious, because as a youth, it's kind of the characteristic of the youth, right? You're idealistic. You're not part of the system already, so you think in a beyond the box, outside the box. So I think we shouldn't lose this. We should always be ambition, because then we can influence the negotiators to be more ambition themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I can add what he said, that we cannot make like if we would in an informal want to make a suggestion on the text, that would be basically impossible, because they would only see you as making an intervention at the end, like saying some things, but actually contributing to the text. That would have happened in bilaterals, just trying that someone picks up your ID as a party and then gives that ID to the floor. So it's really hard as youth to have our out of the box IDs get to actually the floor. But we see that with bilaterals, some parties are open for the IDs. It's just that no one then knows that we are so active in it and that we want to engage, because it's all behind closed doors most of the times.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I would like to thank you all. A round of applause for Alexis. And now I would like to invite Rokayetu and Lamin to have a Global South perspective this time. Maybe Rokayetu can join us if Lamin is not here yet.
To be
Where do I see this?
Welcome. Hello. Yeah.
Rokayetu, can you share your story with us? How you started being a young negotiator for Mali? Where did the idea come from? How did you get the opportunity? Maybe bring us a little bit back to your first engagement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rokiato Traore. I'm a green innovator, and a young negotiator under AGN, and I'm following agriculture and food security. So in my country, I'm developing an inclusive value chain around agroforestry products such as moringa to create economic, environmental, and social impacts. So we've set up an objective of planting 10 million trees by 2030 to empower 15,000 women and young farmers, and to integrate plant-based food in the daily diet of Malians and also Africans in general. So it was I had the opportunity to discuss with our national focal points about our initiative of creating these impacts, and so to make significant contribution in addressing climate change. So he found very promising to recommend me to AGN, because this year we had the privilege to have a training with AGN, which is an African group of negotiators, to train young negotiators and to also include them in the negotiation process. So we had the chance to go to Zambia and take a training. So we were 50 young negotiators. I think we were 47 women and 3 men, and one of those is here. So after Zambia, they had to 10 young negotiators to go to Bonn and start with the SB 58. And I was fortunate enough to be part of these 10 young negotiators. And the negotiations really started in Bonn. I had I can say great experience, also disappointing as well, because we started with the negotiation on agriculture and food security, and we could not find agreements. Well, we had to continue the work at COP28. So among the 10 negotiators, the AGN selected 3 negotiators, and I was fortunate enough to be among the 3. So I'm disappointed as my colleagues, because we really wanted to see things moving forward and going to implementation. We were supposed to start the implementation in Bonn next year, but instead we will be continuing discussion. So that's it.
Yeah. So I think Mali also falls under the G77 plus China group. Do you feel that your voice as a young negotiator has power in this very big group with really senior negotiators that are really old and having following things and have a say in the room? How do you feel compared to the senior negotiators?
Personally, I can say that I'm still learning. I'm still learning because it's not easy sometimes to raise your voice if you don't know what have been happening before, and also to know also the view of the country well to be able to raise your voice. So I can say that I'm learning. I'm still observing. So I think I've almost never raised my voice. So I've been following, but I can say that as Mali, we associate our points, our vision with G77, and also as AGN as well as LDC as well.
And what would you advise to people who are interested to join such programs and be young negotiators for their countries? Is it time consuming, energy consuming? Does it pay you? Do you make benefit out of it? Because we all need to pay bills and we are lost to know if we stay with civil society or we move towards our government and improve our national contributions. What do you think?
I think it's important to take part in the negotiations because it's the space where big decisions are taken, the decision that will impact on our life and the life of our future generation. So it's good to be civil society, and I encourage the civil society to approach the national focal point, to approach the government, and also make them know that they are making impacts. And the people making impact, people on the front lines, should be the one negotiating because they are directly touched by by the problems. So once and they have another view because those people in the government, they might be really in a position to really know what the smallholder farmers are experiencing every day. They might not know maybe the innovations and all the ecosystem. I'm speaking because I'm in the Sahel, and the Sahel has a different perspective to develop countries, and Switzerland, I can say. So it's very important for the civil society to 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 be near to the government and to also contribute to in the process.
Thank you so much. I think now we can move to the audience. If anyone has questions or comments to Rokeya, to Alexis or Helena.
I think maybe if I can add on what she said.
Yes.
I think that's also something I realized, like sometimes the gap that there is between negotiators and what is happening on the ground, right? And you feel like they're arguing on words like where should we put anchorages or urges, or should we put the comma here or there? And at the same time,
agree and decide it.
Right. And at the same time, you see what is happening right now in the world, and we have to take action. It's like urgent, more urgent than any time before. And it's sometimes very frustrating to see that we cannot even agree on some terms, right? So sometimes I wonder, like, is it the right way to move forward? Should we be less procedural and more substantive? And this is also what makes so difficult for a young negotiator as we to be integrated, because we don't have any experience in terms of procedural process. Like, we don't understand the nitty-gritty of the text every time, but we do understand the reality on the field. So that's something we have to think about in the future, I think.
So if there is, do you have a question? Yes, please. Oh,
Yes.
Hi there. Thank you for your words and your thoughts. I'm curious. I'm trying to figure out my own part to play in this. That's why I'm here, figuring out what to do. And I wanted to follow up with the point about, well, it should be the front line, the people in the frontline communities that are like at the negotiation table. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. But I also know that I snuck into one of the negotiations and I was just listening. And it is very inaccessible as well, even for me. Like I went to university, high school, whatever, and I feel like I know a lot of terms and technical terms, but still it was almost impossible for me to understand. So I'm curious to know, like, the balance between getting in frontline communities into the negotiation table and also like the language and you were representing the procedure, like, because my first instinct is to say, all right, just tear it all down. We're we'll start from scratch. But I know that there's something to be said about, well, we got to just fix what is working kind of sort of right now. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on yeah, the balance between that. And if my question wasn't clear, please, I can ask it again. Does that make sense? My question? Okay, yeah.
Makes sense. Sure. Do you wanna? Yeah.
Okay.
Or should I
Start?
go? As you want. Lady
Okay.
first.
I think three things. The first thing is capacity building. Like we need to be trained. This is a completely new word. I came as a young as a entrepreneur, and I know my world, but it's completely different when I saw the text. Like I say, okay, is this really implementation of agriculture? Like it's something we definitely need training. The second thing is to attend all the sessions and also try to understand why this party say this, why this party disagree, what are our position. And the third thing is negotiators, they are very accessible. They are very accessible, and they usually want the young negotiator to be on the table at every AGN coordination meeting in the morning. There's always a negotiator emphasizing the need to include young negotiators in the process, and they're also organizing trainings. And so I think these are the three important points to consider for society to join the negotiations. Thank you. I can add on that.
Yeah. I think fully agree with what you said. Also, that we should have more multi-stakeholder engagement, I think, and importantly before to COP, because when you come to COP, it's kind of already too late if you want to influence stuff. You know, you can do bilaterals, but country positions are already determined, and you cannot learn in one day how does it work to negotiate on a text. So you have to do prior to it, like multi-stakeholder engagement. And I would love to see more discussions online between negotiators, policymakers, farmers, young people, maybe even like NGO, you know, like try to create kind of this community feeling, not only between negotiators, but among all stakeholders. That's the first thing. And the other thing I want to raise is that there is also this idea of capacity building, and some great things are going on. I want to give a shout out to the climate use negotiator program I followed, which is called CYNP, from Marie Claire and her whole team. It's very amazing. Like they actually give us the opportunity since July online 2 times a month to have a capacity building workshop on how to negotiate, to understand a text. So it helped us a lot. It was a start, but still, you never feel like you're going to be able to do the same in a negotiation room with the pressure, with the surrounding of people, you know. And by the way, we're working on a young negotiator declaration that aims to ask every country to integrate a climate youth delegate in the delegation, and then to do the follow up on the national level to integrate youth in the development of policies making and improve capacity building. So I think there is something going on. We see, since it's my third COP already, I see some differences, but we still need to improve the capacity building, the multi-stakeholder engagement. And I will finish by saying also that we should try to make youth more comfortable, because it's still something that is very much adult driven. And sometimes you don't dare, as you said, or sometimes you don't feel like you have the rights to say something. So we should also reflect about the narrative behind and the surrounding, you know, some kind of intangible things that kind of make you feel more empowered as a youth.
Helena?
I think the man in the back also had a question, so maybe
You still have a question? It was covered by Alexis. So
okay.
some last words from you, Helena.
That what you said, maybe you don't understand like the words with difference between we and decision, but that's why in my own organization we added agricultural and related sciences, and we see already that we can ask those questions. And that's the same in Yongo. We are a very broad group. If I have questions on something, I can ask them. Also, what I already said, it's very approachable to learn also the history of some countries. For example, last year, India blocked suddenly the negotiations the day before. We were already starting to clap because we thought, yes, we have it. We have the Sharm el-Sheikh joint work. And then we went talking to him and learned a lot about how religion also played a role in what he made this decision to block it at the very end. So that was very, very interesting to have that talk, to learn about those underlying things. And the only way to really understand all those things is to actually connect and unite with people from those countries. That's what youth makes us strong, is that we actually have people from all around the world that we can connect to, that we can ask those questions to. So, and also ask the questions. To be very blunt, I was not going to be here today because I didn't have a pass. If I didn't have to dare to ask, I would not have been sitting here today. So ask.
Good point.
Never know if you never try, and you can never get if you never ask. Maybe one last question.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Milion Belay. I'm the General Coordinator of the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa. I know that, all these negotiations have a lot of context, geopolitical, you say religious, and so many issues. The fact is that so many of the negotiators are aging. We said that we lost a famous Bangladesh negotiator, So a battery of users to come in and replace these negotiators. Maybe a more daring, a more courageous group will come and we might advance, So what I'm asking Yungo is, I think nothing will replace a targeted and focused training of what is a COP, What is it? There are so many things, CP1, CP2, Article 2.3, what's it? So you need to understand, and it's not easy to understand. So I'm asking you have a plan. I think you probably you don't know it, but you're one of the most powerful group. You can ask, you can ask this number of youth to be trained for this time from this number of countries. Huh? I think that has to be your plan.
Yeah.
And I'm just asking whether you have that plan.
No, go.
This year, Yongo did capacity trainings in general so that everyone could learn what is a GST, what is adaptation Article 6, what is like the history of this. So there are like a lot of capacity training so that everyone could also have a basic understanding. Because last year, I know very well what was in the Sharm el Sheikh and what they were discussing. I had no idea what was in the Paris Agreement and where we were mentioned there. So I did not see the interlinkages. So Yongo as a broad system is now doing that. And then our working group, Agriculture and Food, already is planning on what we're going to do next year. We're going to have a discussion after this as well to finalize. But we always have two contact points. They do a lot of work, but next year we want to have a group that really helps them on different levels. So, for example, Alexis and me would be in that group to help with everything about negotiations, see who are all those people. And you also said the first time that we come, I have no idea what the names, the countries of the speakers are. We're trying to pass on that knowledge now to everyone. So we're working on an actual plan to make sure that the first day that 2 months prior, everyone knows that what is Article 14, 15, 16 and why was it a problem this year? And how can we make sure that next year we can find a common ground on those? I don't know if you want to.
Press.
I think it's fine. So in my quality as the contact point for the Food and Agriculture Working Group for Yungo, together with Alexis. So we try to have capacity building sessions by some colleagues that work in the fields of agriculture. But also Yongo does general ones with the UNFCCC to have, also they call them workshops, and there are capacity building sessions. Different organizations, they do the same for their own members. It's just hard to include everyone because we are a very big group. So not everyone is interested. Maybe at the last time, some people get badges at the very last minute, but there were also ones done at the COI, which is the Conference of Youth, and it happened 2 days before COP. So there was also one by Clima Delegation that happened at a COP. So we keep doing these capacity building sessions every time, trying to include as many people as we can. Some with the FAO, some with different organizations with the
for example,
experience.
had some sessions with YPART as well this year to have the young professionals teach the youth what is going on. So
thank you so much, Rokayatu, Alexis, and Helena. But before we end up, I would like to invite Simon to announce something really nice about youth inclusion. Please take the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Aya. Thank you, everyone. Without wasting so much time, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Simon Bukenya. I work with Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, and I co-coordinate the AFSA Youth Platform. Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa is AFSA in short form. So it's an African network, the largest civil society network in Africa, working with over 200 million farmers. We have a membership of over 40 members, and those members are also networks, national networks, and regional networks. So we are here mainly on the youth agenda. The AFSA Youth Platform recently organized an event. It was a youth summit on food systems and agroecology. The food systems of Africa, we believe, are honestly being held captive, and they're failing. But the youth are not at the forefront of transforming these food systems. So what do we need to do as African youth? I understand that UNGO has the Global South members, the Global North members, but it's a very broad network that we believe has a number of youth that have so many innovative solutions in transforming food systems to what we want to see. Our food has been captured by the industrialists. So how do we bring the youth on board to be at the forefront of transforming these food systems? And as AFSA, we believe that agroecology is a very important approach, nature friendly, environmentally friendly, but also the practices within agroecology are honestly embracing all of us and the youth as well within these communities in Africa and also globally. So I'd like my colleague here, Abdel, to do the announcement. I just wanted to give you a small overview of what AFSA is. So Abdel.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Simon, for this very clear introduction and review. I'm Abdel Karim Ali Mahaman, the Regional Program Coordinator of the African Biodiversity Network, which is also a member of AFSA. As announced by my colleague Simon, in last June in Kenya, in the county of Machakos, AFSA invited a certain number of young people across the continent to discuss about the issues and the challenges when it comes to promoting agroecology in the continent and making food systems sustainable. So we had very fruitful discussions during that summit, which was a 3 days summit with very innovative and a very innovative approach in terms of interactions, etc. And one of the main outcomes of that summit was to organize next year in October, if I'm correct, the first 1,000 Youth Summit on Food System and Agroecology, because we had the opportunity to discuss about the challenges and the issues. So we thought that it would be good also to convene 20 youth per each country across the 50 countries in Africa where AFSA is operating, to discuss not about the challenges, but about the solutions. So it is supposed to be the summit of solutions, because we have already discussed the issues and challenges. So basically, as I said, the aim is to have 20 participants from each country, of course, with a gender balance, but also to make sure that among those participants we'll have diverse representation from entrepreneurship area, from activists, environmentalists, and whatsoever. The summit will be a 5 days event, We'll have the opportunity to have plenary discussions, panel discussions, side events, of course, participatory workshop, field visit, and give the opportunity to those participants to showcase the solutions they are implementing in their countries under different thematic areas. And one of the outcomes of that summit will be a declaration, the youth declaration, but also we aim to have an action plan and a roadmap for future engagement. And those documents, of course, will be intended not only to governments, but also to different set of decision makers, policy makers, and whoever is involved in, let's say, shaping the future of food system and agroecology in Africa. Thank you so much.
Woo! Yeah, thank you very much, my colleague Abdel. Because it's a youth summit, we believe that Yungo has a number of very important youth who are out there on the ground. And I would like to make a big announcement today here that together with the Food and Agriculture Working Group of Yungo, AFSA would like to announce a partnership with Yungo for this summit, but also beyond the summit. So we've discussed with Aya, and Aya has brought it up to the working group of Yungo, the agriculture working group of Yungo. We are going to be working closely together. And I understand that you are also pushing for agroecology within that working group as a very sustainable approach to our food systems. So I'd like to announce the partnership from today, and whatever comes next, Aya, we shall be in touch, and with the group as well. So thank you very much. So we have a brochure here, just talk about the summit, but also we shall have the official launch on 10th of December at the Gambia Pavilion at 12 p.m. So you're most welcome to that official launch.
Thank you.
We want inclusivity within this process. We want all the youth to be inclusive, to be included within these processes. So getting together over 1,000 youth for us is a very big, very big win, not just for AFSA, but for the whole continent of Africa and for Yungo as a constituency. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Simon and AFSA. So I think we come to an end for our session. Thank you so much for our panelists and everyone in the audience. Please feel free to network with AFSA and with our young negotiators and representatives in the networking space. And if you're interested to join the next session, it will be here as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aya.